Welcome to Thumbstick Ninjas, the show where we talk about games, anything game-related, movies, television, you name it. My name is Matthew Smith, and with me, as always,
Rob Domingo.
And Steve Landau.
All right.
This is
Here we are.
It's time.
This is it.
Okay.
It's 53 episodes in the making.
We've read your letters. We've heard your incessant emails. You've hounded us on every social media platform, be it our Twitter, be it our Reddit, be it our Facebook.
From Rant Entertainment Media to do this episode. There was some flack about this, but it had to be done.
We stand strong with Dynasty Warriors. Oh, it is time.
Wow.
It's that franchise everyone knows and loves. If you're named Matthew Smith and a few other people scattered throughout
I bought the game
the United
and played
States.
it twice.
It's something that obviously I'm very passionate about, so I finally got permission. I drugged both Rob and Steve, I hope you're enjoying those drinks, to allow me to...
Yeah, they were great, man.
Woo! To talk about
My throat hurts.
my fantastic series, Dynasty Warriors. Before we get into that, though, Steve, what are you doing right now?
Well, because I don't really have very much to add to this discussion, I will be playing some Rocket League.
Oh, very nice.
I'm going to go into Rumble mode and hope that I get access to the new Aquadome map, because that just released.
Yeah, literally, we just turned it on.
Yeah. So I'm going to play a few matches. If you're following along, that's cool. I hope you enjoy my terrible gameplay. And I'm going to start that up right now while you guys discuss certain things.
Okay. Well, I know, obviously, besides our persistent obsession with Rocket League, I've been actually getting into a little bit of a retro mood lately. We hooked up the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube
and the
Wii, and I've been revisiting some classics lately.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, like Star Fox 64, I've been playing that through a couple of times.
Nice.
Rogue Squadron, like just going back to the old favorites.
Coincidental, because there's a secret collaboration between a specific throwbacker and some thumbsticks.
Oh my.
Maybe have a collaboration soon. Twitch streaming.
Haven't played this in a while.
Talk about you, Phil.
Boom. But yeah, Star Fox 64 was one of those games where, as a kid, I'd come home and play it every single day, so I still know, like, most of where everything is. I used to know it to a T. Like, the bomb needed to be placed here and locked onto this enemy for maximum effect. I'm not quite to that level yet, but I'm enjoying doing the different paths and everything. And
It was N64.
well, that's mine. That is actually from the... it's the Pod Racer edition. It came with Episode 1 Pod Racing, and it's black. It's a specific, it came with a black controller as well.
Need that memory back.
Yeah, I know. But we actually then, that kind of triggered the whole Super Smash Brothers drive, which, the original is so classic and so good. Every iteration is so different. We jumped from that to Brawl, because by being able to hook up with a special adapter to our HD TV, which is too modern to actually connect with the Nintendo 64 and the Wii. We had to get an adapter, so now we can play the Wii as well. So we've been doing a lot of Brawl, and that's been a lot of fun. So I actually caved and bought a memory card for the GameCube so that we can plug it into the Wii, and I can start saving progress for Metroid Prime.
I think you just need an SD card for that, right?
Yeah, but like, you need a specific GameCube memory card to make it. Yeah.
What brought on this retro feeling?
Honestly, just hooking it up. We did the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time episode last podcast, and we've had it out, and I just kind of forgot I had it, and then it was like, oh, now we can get the Wii to work. And we have all these games, and I didn't even know we had the Two Towers. We have Metroid Prime. We've got all the Prince of Persias. We've got a whole bunch of different games.
Have you ever played the original version?
No. In fact, I never really even played the Prince of Persias. So I'm actually hey, Beyond Good and Evil, we have that for GameCube.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I'm gonna hook it on up to my TV, the actual GameCube we have, and I'm gonna start going through.
Yeah, why not?
Now, let me ask you a question. How to brush with the past, but what kind of differences do you see in games now compared to games in the past?
Well, there's the definitely story is different these days. Story is so immersive nowadays, and we take it for granted as far as how graphics have brought you into a world and how a story is told. You look at something like Star Fox. There's not much there, and yet it's epic. You feel great. When that ending music comes on, every single time I will sit there for the entire credit sequence, because nothing felt better as a kid than to hear that. Like, you were just like, yeah, I'm Star Fox. Even though you're like, who the hell is Andross? Why did he turn into a giant brain? Why is there a fox and a bunny and a toad and a bird? Like, you're like, whatever, I don't know. It's just fun. There was less of a need to be like, this is why this is happening. Whereas if you had a game like Star Fox come out now, there'd be like some explanation as far as why this universe is the way that it is, and you'd need to explain who Andross was, and like, your father just shows up at the end of the game if you're playing the correct path, and you're like, wow, that's really emotional, and it doesn't need explanation. So that's definitely a key difference there. And certainly simplification in terms of the controller. You don't have that much going on. Whereas nowadays, well, nowadays it's all precise and everything, and back then it was a little bit more leeway, I feel, in how games work. But yeah, totally enjoying that. And then playing some Destiny Rise of Iron on the total opposite end.
Thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah. Rob has joined the Merry Fire team.
One lonely, when was it, Friday night?
Yep.
Friday night, switch on the PS4 for the first time in a couple of weeks. I see Matt playing some Destiny, like, oh, well, gotta do it. But I was stuck at level, like, 28 at Lightning. And then you get a boost if you buy the Destiny Rise of Iron collection, which was not on sale, because I didn't have Taken King. So I sent Matt a message should I buy it for $60? And I was like, that's up to you. Is it really fun? Is it worth it? And I think your response was
Bye.
So yeah, I think my hand slipped, and I was totally in the fire team in like 5 minutes because the update already downloaded.
Yep.
And we killed the Chamber Elders arena. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, or Prison of Elders.
Yeah.
I am so excited to be able to do all those raids with you. It's something where Destiny is made to play with 3 people. It really is. So I'm really looking forward to slogging through Taken King again, playing through Rise of Iron, which has proven to be really cool, and then being able to do all the raids and all that, which will be really nice. So
The raids are crazy.
yeah, they are super hard, but they don't do matchmaking for raids, which is so stupid. They'll do matchmaking for strikes, but not for raids. So if you don't already have a party of 3, you can't effectively do raids.
There are websites that have like the stupid matchmaking. They just have to manually. It's dumb. It's terrible.
Yeah, I hope they fix that in the second one. Just make it easy, intuitive. But yeah, is anyone playing anything else? Steve, I know you've been doing a lot of like handheld gaming.
Yeah, I have all of these Google Play credits because I signed up for their Google Survey app, and they give you like money that you can spend. So I picked up Monument Valley, which has been around for a while, but I never really played it. I played a couple levels to like help my girlfriend when she picked it up. Thank you, Morgan, for turning me onto this game, and also thank you, House of Cards, that featured it and really put it on the map. But yeah, it's a pretty cool game. It's a simple, I say simple, but it's like MC Escher style puzzle solver.
Okay.
So some of the levels are really trippy, but overall it's really cool. And I've also been playing a mobile version of a board game called Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that's a great board game, and having it on mobile just simplifies it and makes it awesome.
Basic rundown of that.
Well, the normal playtime for the board game is like 90 minutes, but I can finish a match with the AI on my way to work, which is like 15, 20 minutes.
But like basic objective of the game, if someone were interested.
Yes. Essentially, you have to build the best castle.
Done.
And you do that with these tiles that are drawn basically randomly. And you need to match them up to certain objective cards that you draw at the beginning of the game and throughout the game, depending on what tiles you pick up. And it's really just very silly because you're hooking up rooms together that like don't go together. But anyway, I'm a bit distracted by Rocket League here.
Yes.
But it's an awesome game. If you don't pick up the mobile one, pick up the board game. It's a lot of fun, especially if you have a couple friends who like to play. And yeah. Whoa.
Very nice. Well, I know we all saw Magnificent Seven at a very nice free screening at
The School of
SVA.
Visual Arts.
So that's always fun to do that.
But what does it
What does it mean?
What?
Visual Effects
Society.
Yes.
Made that happen. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Visual
Yeah.
Effects Society.
But yeah, overall, I liked it. I'd give it like a solid 1 thumb up. One thumb
Right, that's our thing.
Yep. It's fun. It's not going to be anything you're going to write home about. It
No,
doesn't
it's not a
reinvent the
masterpiece,
wheel.
but it was never
Because it's
going to be.
literally a remake, you know.
Yeah.
The cast is phenomenal. Literally the best part of that movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Although my film side's going to come out here, I didn't know you could have bad cinematography in a Western, and this film kind of did. It didn't
CGI.
capture
Yeah.
the essence of what a Western, in my opinion, should be, which is slow, wide shots of the environment. It felt very much so like it was done on a studio or a set or very limited space, and they didn't make use of like the very kind of drawn out nature that I've come to expect in Westerns. But
Yeah,
overall,
they tried to do some of the more like cinematic expanses in the opening, which is about where you'd expect them to be.
yeah, it just there was
But-
a lack, you know, after that. It
Yeah.
was clear that all the budget was put towards the beginning as far as the vistas, and then afterwards, I get that they're stuck in the town, but even the town felt a little, you know. Just,
Yeah,
I don't know.
there was something missing there.
Yeah, but Denzel kills it, and Chris Pratt is funny as always. Vincent D'Onofrio, super fun.
Going on doing the ninja thing.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Ethan Hawke, like, you know, Peter Sarsgaard. So, super fun.
Yeah, it was great.
1 thumb up for me.
I'd give it like 1.5.
How do you have it though?
I don't know. You can like do this sort of thing where you don't put it up all the way.
You sick freak. I'll give it 2 points. I like the whole cast. Vincent D'Onofrio is pretty funny. I've been watching. I finished The Get Down, which is great.
Okay.
I think I mentioned that before. Take on late 70s Harlem.
Okay.
Really good soundtrack. It had Will Smith's kid, Jaden, in it.
Oh, okay.
Will Smith's. Just started Luke Cage. I think I'm on episode 2 or 3.
I only got through episode 1, but I'm hooked.
It's very good.
I haven't started yet, but
Yeah,
it's
I love
on
it.
the to-watch list.
Soundtrack is great.
Yeah, once we finish, we'll do a full, you know, a Fun Stick Ninjas review of Luke Cage, so
Yeah, we should
hopefully
Yeah,
by next
I'll
time.
power through it.
I also, I'm telling you this here, a couple weeks ago, I was on vacation. I downloaded Strike Vector on PS4. It was like $14.
Oh, nice.
It was like a shooter, like a third person or first person shooter with chips and kind of like that Robotech or Battlestar Galactica feel.
Ooh, cool.
Pretty fun. There's a multiplayer, which is kind of crazy, but campaign is cool. I get it if it were free.
Okay.
So if you see it, Strike Vector. And now I have this little gadget to my list. I have an Apple Watch because
Nice.
why not?
There you go.
Downloaded
Oh
a
yeah, you
game,
have a game for that.
yeah, called Lifeline, and it's basically a choose-your-own-adventure type narrative.
Okay.
Think about like Mass Effect and all their narrative choices, but just text-based.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty fun.
Nice.
$1 on the App Store.
Very nice.
Yeah, Rob convinced me to pick that up, so
Oh, okay.
It's
Yep.
$2.
it was $2, but like I said before, I have all of those credits that I'm looking
Okay.
to spend. So
Cool. Well, the last thing that I'm going to bring up is I started Penny Dreadful. I just watched the pilot episode. If you're looking for something to watch for, you know, the Halloween month of October, definitely that. Just be forewarned, it's probably one of the bloodiest, goriest things I've ever seen.
What's it
So, it's kind of got a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen feel, where there's a mystery going on and they need to assemble a group of very unique and talented individuals to deal with the supernatural, and, you know, you're basically following that mystery. So without spoiling anything, that's basically what it is. You'll see some classic, you know... some
Are you
classic
talking to me?
villains.
That's
and,
Rumble.
some classic mythical creatures thrown in there, but definitely recommend.
Penny Dreadful Safety.
Yep. Super hot. Yep. So definitely enjoying that. And randomly, Josh Hartnett is in it, which I didn't know
He's
if he
got
still.
work?
Yeah, I was shocked.
What happened?
Good on him.
Yeah.
She's all that.
Who knows?
Wait, no, he was in there. 40 days, 40 nights. I have no idea.
Well, as far as
Black Hawk
upcoming, yes. As far as upcoming stuff, Comic-Con in this weekend is. I think Rob is our only representative who's going.
Yeah.
I'm only going for half the time. I usually take the Friday off, but took too many vacation days, so that's saving. Giving my Friday pass to my bro.
Okay.
Dr. People.
Sweet.
And I'm gonna check out the Robotech panel, of course, and maybe the Legion panel.
Okay.
So X-Men spin-off.
Cool. Well, I'm sure there's going to be tons of trailers and announcements over that, so the next time we'll try to catch you up with everything that's debuted there. We did find out the final Rogue One trailer will come out attached to Doctor Strange, so if you need another reason to go and see that, that is a very good reason. Disney released the teaser trailer for Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales. Which, looks like another Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little lukewarm on that.
Yeah.
I'll watch it.
It's kind of one of those,
I'll wait.
I need to see a
watch it.
little bit more.
Yeah.
Javier Bardem is certainly a good choice.
I do like him, yeah.
And I'm putting my money that's Will Smith's son.
Will
as
Smith?
far as, or Will Turner's son.
Jaden Smith's in Pirates.
Yeah, Will Turner's son, who is being interrogated by
I would
Captain
expect,
Salazar.
yeah.
Is it, maybe it's Jack Sparrow.
No,
that-
rumor
that's-
is he has a daughter, and they're
Yeah.
gonna hand the franchise off to her.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's good.
Because he's getting older and he can't really do it anymore.
Yeah,
The Batman is coming.
right.
That is the title of the Batflix standalone film.
Very original.
Yep. So, in case you're confused, it will star the Batman.
Be all about him.
Yep. Also considered a Batman and he Batman. Let that pronoun one out. Lemony Snicket's Netflix series teaser just came out recently.
curious about that.
I'm definitely excited for that. It looks super fun. We got Patrick Warburton, who's playing Lemony Snicket himself, and Neil Patrick Harris playing Count Olaf. And both of them featured to some extent in the teaser trailer. And it definitely captures that Lemony Snicket, very dry approach to itself. And hey, if you're a fan of Mulan, the live-action film has officially been fast-tracked for a November 2018 release. So, and they are in fact looking for a Chinese actress, which is weird.
Really?
I would have thought Caucasian.
There are so
maybe,
many of them.
maybe like super Caucasian.
Taylor Swift.
There you go. Just good old Tilda Swinton title role. So Matt Damon was thrown. I saw that name.
Matt Damon as Mulan,
As
yeah.
Mulan. Maybe Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Coming in there. So we'll see. Conan O'Brien. Well,
Creative choice, but
Conan O'Brien would be an excellent choice.
yes. So,
Anyway.
yep. The Iron Fist TV Netflix series, that'll be coming out March 2017. And if you want to see exactly one image of it, you can find it on the internet.
his fist
Cool.
there.
I love the internet.
Yep. It's a fist, and it appears to be heading towards punching a face.
All right.
And Rogue One toys will be officially unveiled on Force Friday.
Last
When is
Friday.
Force Friday?
Last
Oh, okay. They already were unveiled.
Yay!
All the
You
toys,
missed
go
it.
buy them. Go buy all of the toys. They desperately need your money. Or they won't be able to make any more Star Wars films. What is
Yeah,
this
never
mini Famicom?
You know how they're making the mini Nintendo?
Yes.
Japan's releasing the mini Famicom, which is just,
That's what they called the Nintendo in Japan.
it was a different aesthetic
Famicom.
model.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like reddish a little bit, but basically Nintendo.
Okay.
That comes out soon, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm very much just shaking my head at that whole concept. It's just so classic Nintendo to just do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it'll work. They'll get people to do it. But, like,
They're running out of
why?
ideas, man.
Yeah,
It
just,
is.
you know,
iPhone
create
game,
an actual...
a fucking Infinity Runner on iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just put like regular Mario on there? Why does it have to be an Infinite Runner?
Because they're adapting. They're,
Terrible.
Like, that's... We need the NX. We need it to save us. So, at one point in life, they will decide to announce, you know, probably 3 days before they release it, what the actual console is, what it looks like, what it can do. But, you know, until that time, we'll just wait with bated breath. Which I'm sure you've all been doing, because now that we're done with all that useless
Wait,
crap...
there's no more news?
Nope, we are.
Are
we
you
are.
sure?
Right?
Not even any games news?
Nope, there is no
How
game
is it?
news more relevant than what I am about to unleash on this podcast.
Oh, okay.
And thanks for listening, folks. See
Nope.
you later.
Nope, it was signed in blood when we agreed to do this podcast that at one point in the future, we would discuss.
You were just waiting for the proof.
Oh, this is
I don't
a
know-
long
I don't
con.
know why I said it.
Yep, this is a long con,
How
guys.
did the conversation go? I was like, yeah, he's good.
Yep.
I think we were having lunch.
Well, it is a game series that I have talked about a lot. So it's something that I personally think is my favorite franchise, to be honest. It's just something that stems back from being a kid, seeing the demo in Target, and just falling in love with it, and followed me throughout my entire life. And, you know, there's something to that I thoroughly enjoy. It's like Harry Potter if Harry Potter just kept going. Except if Harry Potter involved killing lots of things in a video game. So, alright, where do we start? We start at the beginning. And for those who do not know, the first game, Dynasty Warriors, was released in 1997 for the PlayStation 1. For the PlayStation 1, and get this, it was a 1v1 fighting game, like Virtua Fighter. Like,
Really?
It was it was a 3D fighting game,
Dynasty
and it looked
Warriors?
terrible. Oh god, it was just like the worst looking game you've ever seen. In Japan, it was called, and pardon me, I am very sorry for these pronunciations, Sangoku Muso?
Sengoku Muso.
Okay. Okay. Sengoku Muso. And it was received to moderate success. It did come over here, but it failed to capture what they were looking for.
Oh my god, it looks like the old Tekken.
Yeah, it's basically a ripoff. It's one of those games where, like, you basically figure they cloned an existing game, they threw in the Dynasty Warriors aspect. You could fight as like 10 characters, 12 characters, really small, and it had nothing to do with any story or anything like that. Then, in 2000, for the PlayStation 2, they released Shin Sangoku Musou, which was titled Dynasty Warriors 2 in the US. Now, Steve, I don't know, can you help me understand the difference between Sangoku Musou and Shin Sangoku Musou?
Well, Shin, as with a lot of things in Japanese, it has multiple meanings. Shin is sort of like divine, can also have something to do with death. So, yeah.
Okay.
But
unfortunately,
probably the best approach would be something like godly or divine.
Okay. So,
So like divine Dynasty Warriors would be a good translation.
gotcha.
Street Fighter has a more eviler version called Shin Akuma, which is like super powerful.
Gotcha.
It's just like super weird.
So, this is why, if you're a big fan like me, and you watch the initial reveal trailer in Japanese, it is one number less in Japan than it is here. Because the producers didn't want to make it seem like this was a different series. when they named it here, which is very stupid because the first game has nothing to do with anything. But they figured if they called it 2, that they'd get more people to buy it. Like, this is the second game. So in Japan, like, the latest one to come out was Dynasty Wars 8, so it's Shin Sengoku Musou 7 in Japan. So that's why if you see it in Japanese, you'll be confused which title it is. That's why that explanation happened. That game, Dynasty Warriors 2, introduced the whole 1 versus 1,000 philosophy and brought the game solely to its hack and slash format that every single title has followed thereafter. So they overhauled everything. They brought it to a new, more powerful console in the PlayStation 2, and they, expanded their game to really start going closer towards adapting the Romance of the Three Kingdoms storyline, which is what the games are based off of. Before we get into that, to basically let you know who's bringing these wonderful games to you, the developer is Omega Force, and the publisher from 1997 to 2009 was Koei, and then from 2009 to the present is Koei Tecmo. So every time you boot up a Dynasty Warriors game, there's a very familiar sound for the W produced by Omega Force, and then Koei follows that, which is now Koei Tecmo. Then you may be asking specifically, like, why is this such a big deal? Because it's super popular in Japan. It makes its sales in Japan. They just shipped it over here, and there happens to be a very dedicated, small, but dedicated group of fans here that demand that they constantly release all their titles over here.
It's like their Call of Duty.
Basically. It actually is, but it's like, because it shatters the records over there. Like, that game will top charts when it comes out, and it will top charts for a while.
Isn't that weird?
No.
A Chinese game will top charts.
Well, they do. It's Chinese themed, but they do have a samurai theme.
They have a Samurai
Eventually.
Warrior.
Yeah.
But
they got around to
basically,
it.
why is this so popular? Because it follows the Three Kingdoms, or more importantly, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms story. And let me just kind of give a brief background on that,
you're big
because
into the
it's-
history of this too. So.
Yeah, it's layered. So there actually was a historical period called the Three Kingdoms period in China that took place from 220 Common Era to 280 Common Era. So a very short period of time. And this took place after the collapse of the Han Dynasty, where three kingdoms, Wei, Wu, and Shu, they formed and fought for supremacy over the land. And the conflict eventually led to the foundation of the Jin Dynasty in 280. And thus the end of the Three Kingdoms era occurred at that time.
And that is your Chinese history.
Yes. Now, what makes this period in history very fascinating to look at is that it's actually very much so believed to be the bloodiest time in Chinese history prior to World War II. That more people died in that span of 60 years than, in the thousands of years between the time before and World War II. That there was just such intense vying for power at that time, and so much conflict, and everything was in flux as far as who actually had control and who didn't. Now, this period in time is greatly romanticized by historians of Asian history, hence the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So you have basically what's called Records of the Three Kingdoms, which was compiled and written by Chen Shuo around 300 Common Era.
Okay.
So very shortly after the events, he sat down. This is considered to be the authoritative historical document.
Historically accurate.
He wrote down the events compiled from very clear sources and wrote them out. What's very interesting is around 1300 Common Era is when Luo Guanzhong of the Ming Dynasty sat down and wrote the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is a interpretation of the actual history, wherein he basically made a historical fiction of it. It is considered to be the most beloved novel in East Asia. So much so that generals would carry it around when they went for World War II. It is referred to for military tactics. It's referenced in almost everyday life. You may occasionally see a figure, if you're going to Chinese restaurants, of a bearded man with a glaive on a big red horse. This is Guan Yu, the god of war, who was romanticized in the Three Kingdoms storyline to literally the status of a god. People pray to Guan Yu. It's actually reached that level of fanaticism. Right. So to them, this is more like Paul Revere, where it's very romanticized, or we look at history. We look at history through rose-colored glasses, and we assume Davy Crockett is probably a better interpretation of it, because Davy Crockett was real. He did fight at the Alamo and he did die, but all the stories about Davy Crockett and what he did and fought bears and all that, tall tales. But everyone is so much more fascinated with the revisionist history that they prefer that to the actual story, which is so fascinating, because that's just, to me, it's like Troy, where it's very hard to pinpoint if Troy was an actual city or not. There's evidence for it. There's not evidence for it. As far as like the siege of Troy and how that all went down. So we have that story in Western history. This is the Eastern version of that. What is evident is that these people were real, and they actually made so much innovation and invention during that particular time. Zhuge Liang did in fact create like crossbow designs.
So they were like the founding fathers of China.
Basically, they set a good foundation for moving forward. What they did changed the landscape of China inevitably, and it happened within a 60-year period of just intense struggle and heartbreak. To give you a very brief timeline of the Three Kingdoms period, from 184 to 220, you had each kingdom consolidating their power and laying their foundations, and officially forming by the end of 220. Again, Wei Wu and Shu. Then from 220 to 263, they actually all had equal footing between all three kingdoms. So you would do a little battle here, and then you'd win, and you'd lose over here, and there was no shift in the power balance. That all changed in 263 when Wei officially conquered Shu.
Okay.
Then in 265, Jin actually overthrowed Wei.
Jin the blue?
Yeah. Well, Jin is purple. So the Jin dynasty is purple. In Wei is blue. Green is Shu, and red is blue, if you're following the colors of the games.
Woo!
And then finally in 280, Jin conquered Wu officially, thus solidifying their dynasty in the end of the Three Kingdoms period. So Shu falls first, then Wei is actually overthrown internally, which is very interesting when you follow that struggle.
If the shoe fits.
Yes. And then Jin conquered Wu to finish it off. So now that we've established that back history, which is important because it feeds into why these games are so popular, because there's such a rich history behind it, which is something where even as a kid, I sensed that there was like something bigger there. They actually have an encyclopedia mode in the in each game, and you can go and read the excerpts from Romance of the Three Kingdoms straight in the game.
How did you get so involved in that story? What was
So,
your first?
my first encounter with it, I was in Target, and Target at that time, a big reason you went to Target is because they would have the consoles up and you could play a demo of something.
Yes.
And so, you know, your mom would go off shopping for whatever, and you would slink away to the electronics section, and hopefully there wouldn't be some other stupid kid there. And if you got there and the
Wow.
controller was empty, you'd be like, hell yeah, I'm sitting down and I'm playing. So I booted up this game, and I think I was playing as Dion Way, and I was riding around on this horse, and it was like the first time I had ever like gotten on a horse and then attacked on a horse and then got off the horse and continued attacking. Like my mind was blown, like, and I was just running around, and it was a big open world, and like I was like, this is so cool. I left without knowing what the name of the game was. And I am not kidding you, this is probably Dynasty Warriors 3 I played. I looked for years and I couldn't figure it out. Like I would try to describe it to people and they'd be like, I don't know what, you know, I was like, there's like a horse
Phantom game,
and you
you
did
crazy
it.
kid.
I was actually accidentally given Onimusha
Very different game.
when I described it to
Chinese,
someone.
Japanese look alike. I get it now.
I was like, okay, I'm not telling anyone I have this game, and I'm gonna play it when no one else is around because it's super, super cool, but not Dynasty Warriors. Finally, one day, I must have like figured out how the internet worked or whatever, you know, and was just like, oh my god, Dynasty Warriors, that's what it is. I grabbed Dynasty Warriors 4, and the rest is fucking history.
So this is the copy right here.
That is the original copy
Is
that
your
Rob
first
is looking
item
at.
Dynasty Warriors.
That is the first one I owned, and it has a special place in my heart.
Really?
So I have officially, I'm going to claim, since Dynasty Warriors 3, because I played it for a brief moment in Target, but my first owned game was Dynasty Warriors 4, and I have been current all the way through.
Whoa. That is loyalty.
Yes.
So you don't collect them, you sell them.
I got very much so into selling in the PlayStation 3 era because I played so many games, and GameStop was actually not so terrible at that time for your trade-in value. And nowadays, it's like Best Buy offered me something. That's why I don't own Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends Complete Edition right now. I also beat that game twice, but we'll get it.
You told me to buy it, I bought it, played it for 20 minutes.
And it was
to
a
my
great
brother.
20 minutes. So, let me just explain a little bit about the mechanics of the Warriors games. So, you're gonna notice when you look at Dynasty Warriors that there's a shit ton of titles. And you're gonna be super confused what it all is. Here's the important thing. If it's numbered, that means it's a completely new game. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, new. New approach, new costumes, new style, all that. So a vanilla, I always refer to those games as vanilla. So your basic
you get
plain
those
flavor.
first, or-
Oh, of course. They come out first, in fact.
But you don't wait until the next one.
No, not at all. So vanilla games have a Musou mode, which is a story mode, and this has altered throughout the evolution of the game. Sometimes it follows a particular officer, sometimes it follows a particular, what they call dynasty, but it's actually just kingdoms.
Right.
Then you have free mode, which allows you to replay any mission with any officer at any time. Encyclopedia mode, gallery mode, all that good stuff. But that's your basic numbered title. They also have Extreme Legends, which is Mao Shoden in Japanese.
What?
Mo Shoden?
Mushoden?
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it.
Yeah. Extreme Legends generally operates where they change the Musou mode for you. They usually add new weapons. They can, in some instances, add new characters. That started in Dynasty Warriors 7, and then continued the tradition in Dynasty Warriors 8. Now, an exception to the rule with Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends is that that's the first title that came to the PlayStation 4. So, they included the entire base game along with Extreme Legends to get you to buy it, which of course I did. And I had already beaten 8 completely, and then rebeat it all over again, and then played the new characters on PlayStation 4. The other variant that exists with Warriors is called Empires. This introduces a sort of strategic risk-esque world map overlay that combines with the hack and slash combat. So you can either be an officer or a ruler. You can have marriages and offspring. It doesn't matter the party lines of everyone.
Fantasy
You could
football.
have you could have like Cao Cao and Liu Bei and Sun Quan all on one team. Like you just whatever characters you like the most, you recruit them, and the goal is to conquer China in your name. So in that case, Bao's like you'd have Ma Chao conquer all of China, because you're like, I fucking love Ma Chao. So again, you have the numbered, the extreme legends, and the empires. The empires can sometimes introduce new characters as well. Junyu was introduced in Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. I'm not a big fan of the empires, actually. I play it for, I know this is going to sound really stupid, I play it for the story. I play it for the Musou mode. So, even though I've now played 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I've played 5 iterations of the same game, I still play it mainly for the Musou mode.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you played 4 through 8.
Yes.
Do they cover different years of the timeline of the Three Kingdoms, or
They do not.
So
They all cover the same range?
Yes.
Same
Okay.
range every time?
However, so...
Ooh, look, it's Aquadome.
Oh, it is Aquadome. Look, it's like Bioshock. Ooh, I like it.
You're not in water.
No.
No, because unlike the other Rocket Lab maps, this is meant to play on competitive as well. It's the first time they've done this in a really long time. Oh, since Coliseum. So I'm going to get to kind of some of the differences right now. A big thing that the game has evolved with is historical accuracy, and when I say that, I mean accuracy to Romance of the Three Kingdoms, not the actual history. They've never been concerned with that. It's always, are we being true to the Romance of the Three Kingdoms story? Versus fantastical reimaginings of the story itself. The games have taken wildly different approaches on how they want to do that. Dynasty Warriors 2, 3, 4, they kind of took this really basic, like, we're going to do a majority of the story, but we're going to leave out the ending. There are actually 4 kingdoms in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
What? It's
Wait.
not Romance of the Four Kingdoms?
No, it's like with the Three Musketeers, there's 4.
Yeah.
so-
I mean, if you count D'Artagnan.
Yes. So you have Wei Wu and Shu, who are the primary contenders for the Three Kingdoms. But then you have Jin. Jin doesn't factor until 7. Jin didn't show up as a kingdom until Dynasty Warriors 7. So you had all this established history of Wei Wu and Shu as they expand the rosters over time. Every game featured new generals and new approaches. But like with Dynasty Warriors 4, they kind of just took this blanket, like when you're playing as Wei, you just win as Wei. You just play through the storyline and then you'll win. Wei wins. You conquer as Wei. You do the same for Wu, you do the same for Shu. They had Others mode because there are other characters that exist in the storyline. So you have Yuan Shao, who doesn't go anywhere besides getting clobbered by Cao Cao, but you could follow his storyline. You could follow the Nanman tribes. You could follow Lu Bu. You could follow Deng Zhuo. Like, you could follow all of these storylines. But every time you played it, you would win as them. So they kind of were like, screw historical accuracy, you just win the battles when you're playing as this dynasty. So it was there, like you would play the battle of, like Fan Castle, but if you were playing as Shu, you would just win. And there was no like Guan Yu didn't die. Like, you just won. Like, congratulations, you're the best. When it went to Dynasty Warriors 5, they made a bold choice. They abandoned the kingdom structure of the Musou mode. And instead, what you did was every single character had a completely unique story mode. They shortened the amount of levels that you played for each character. So if you were playing an officer, you'd only do like 5 battles. So if you were Dion Wei, you just played 5 battles as Dion Wei. But you'd get a very focused Dion Wei storyline. If you were Cao Cao or one of the rulers, you would get like 8 battles, a little more substantial. And then it was basically like little what-if scenarios for each and every officer. But what was cool was Dynasty Warriors 5 started actually implementing the story, which, as I found out, shocked a little old me, who thought, yay, good guys and bad guys. Like, people die. Really cool people die. All the time in Romance of the Three Kingdoms. This was the first game that started implementing that. So if you did not play as Dion Wei died where he was supposed to die. And the other characters would react to that. And to me, that blew my goddamn mind. I was like, wait a minute, Dion Wei dies? Guan Yu dies? What? This fucking game is terrible. I hate this game. But it was awesome. It's emotional, and I actually then, that's what goaded me to finally read Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which I have read now the full translation finally and absolutely love. But it's like 1,000 plus altogether. It's 4 volumes long, and there's a lot of beheadings, a lot. They really, really like beheading people in ancient China. So you had this ebb and flow throughout the game, where it didn't know if it wanted to be a fan service, because you really like Dion Wei, you don't want Dion Wei to die, or if it wanted to go more to the historical side of things and be like, but he did die, and it is important to the story that he dies. Enter Dynasty Warriors 6. And for us Dynasty Warriors fans, everyone just shuddered a little bit. It's like saying Voldemort's name.
What year is it?
I don't know the actual year that came out.
Forgot.
PlayStation 3, that was the first one that came out on the PlayStation 3. And as we saw from the leap from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, Koei sometimes likes to take big leaps with their series. Because, let's be very, very honest, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were practically identical. I'm talking, everything was the same. It used the same core system throughout the entirety of the console generation. There was a certain familiarity that came with that. I could pick up the same game and understand the basics. Maybe Zhao Yun would have a different move, maybe he'd have a slightly different weapon, but it was the same basic thing throughout the entire franchise. Enter Dynasty Warriors 6. It's on the PlayStation 3. There's a lot of pressure for Koei to kind of step it up. They go a little batshit crazy. The designs of the characters had always leaned a little bit more towards historical accuracy than anime fan service, until Dynasty Warriors 6 came out and they said, we can go full fan service.
Oh no.
And it made this leap where, for whatever reason, they thought they had to overhaul the combat system. But not in a good way, in a bad way. If I were to task you both to simplify the combat system of Dynasty Warriors, which involves hitting square, occasionally you can hit triangle, which will do a heavy attack, and circle will do a Musou attack. That's your basic formula. Now, if I were to say to you, that's too complicated, can you dumb it down? How would you do it?
Just have the game play itself.
Basically, that's almost what happened. They introduced what they called the Renbu system, which is fucking terrible.
Oh, no.
So, the regular games, you could string a certain amount of squares together. You could hit it 6 times. If you hit it 6 times, it would finish out a combo. And then you'd have to start over again. But you could also hit square triangle, square triangle, square triangle. It would do different moves depending on how you ended it. They decided that that was too complicated, and that what you should be able to do is continually hit square and you would always attack and never stop. Ever. And that there was no linking to a strong attack. If you switched to a strong attack, you could just do a strong attack. It broke the game in a way that Dynasty Warriors was never meant to break. It didn't have much to begin with. They stripped it down and made it super simple. They cloned half of the characters. They removed characters, which was unheard of. People were pissed. They took characters out. from Dynasty Warriors 5. So Dynasty Warriors 5 officially had a larger roster than 6. And on top of that, they like took all their weapons away. So people had gotten used to the fact that like Jahudun had like the Kirin's Fang. And then they were just like, no, here's an entirely different weapon that makes no fucking sense. So they basically went a little batshit crazy. And on top of that, instead of doing everyone gets their own story mode, and instead of doing, well, each kingdom should get their own story mode, they were like, these 10 people should get a story mode. And that's it. And not only that, but like none of their story modes follow any kind of historical accuracy at all.
Oh, jeez.
What year
Okay.
did this come out?
I don't know. So I'm not sure. But that was the PlayStation 3. It was met with much grumbling amongst even us. Even
Right.
Dynasty Warriors fans were like,
diehard
You know what?
fans.
I can tell you why.
what?
It's a launch title for
Yes.
PS3.
So
Very rushed.
they, well,
Not
it just,
2007.
they had a new engine. They were trying to overhaul things. In order to do that, they had to sacrifice and cut some corners. But it was so evident, and it just didn't. They started making it very weird in the sense that like they pushed it into anime territory, where like people could like bust through walls now, and
boy.
like people could kind of fly, or like Zhang He, who was always portrayed as being like a little bit feminine, was now just completely flamboyant.
Oh, no.
Like with like butterfly wings and like high heels. And you were like, okay, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But like, what happened? Where was this turnaround? Lu Xun, who was always portrayed as being young, was now like a 12-year-old kid. Like they just pushed
no.
it way, way too far. Like Diao Chan lost all of her clothes. Like it was basically like
What's her name?
fan
Hold on.
service the shit out of all of this, and that was what it was. With Dynasty Warriors 7, they turned it completely around in one game. They introduced the Kingdom of Jin. So they expanded the story. So not only did they bring back all the characters that needed to bring back, not only did they declone all of the characters, but they introduced about 8 to 10 new characters, and
Well,
were
that's
even
good.
asking you to look at the story from new perspective. Because you always assume, well, either Wei won, or Wu won, or Shu won. The truth is, none of them win. Jin wins. And it's interesting to watch the downfall of the Three Kingdoms period. So what ended up happening was you started understanding the story in two forms. The form where your current leader was ruling, Cao Cao, Sun Quan, Liu Bei, and the form of the story that featured the people who came after them, Cao Pi, Liu Shan. Like, you started understanding that this was a generational story, and there was something cool about that. So, by the time you get to Dynasty Warriors 8, they hit absolute goddamn perfection. And they finally figured out that you can have the best of both worlds. They actually have the historical path of the story, where each mission has special objectives that they want you to do. So Dian Wei is supposed to die when you're ambushed by Jia Zhu. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Well,
it's history.
There
too.
you go. Jia Zhu traps Cao Cao in a castle, and his son Cao Ang and another of his sons dies, and more importantly, Dian Wei, his most beloved bodyguard, dies. And it's very sad, it's very emotional. You play that level, and that can happen. You can allow that to happen, and then you'll follow history as it should go. Wei builds up to the Battle of Chibi, the Battle of Red Cliff. And that is Cao Cao's greatest military defeat. His fleets are lit on fire by the smaller coalition forces, and he loses around like 400 to 600,000 troops. And they're just dead, and he decimates his entire army. He never fully recovers from that. You play that battle, and if you've not met all the special conditions prior to that battle and all the other previous battles, that will happen. You will lose. No matter what you do, you lose. And then you play out the historical ending of Wei. So you watch Cao Cao die, you watch other characters die, and you're like, wow, this kind of sucks, but it is history. This is what happened. What's great is you can go back and replay all those other levels again. What if you saved Dian Wei? What would happen if he managed to live in that battle? What if you saved Guo Jia? What if he didn't die in the campaign against the Yuans? You do all of these what-if scenarios, and if you manage to do all of them, there's about 5 or 6, by the time you get to the Battle of Chubi, who shows up but Dian Wei and Guo Jia? All the characters who should be dead, so now you can play this alternative version of history of what if they had succeeded at their goal?
Bizarro Dynasty.
Yeah, and it's super
Bizarro.
fun because it hits both. You're like, okay, I get to see the historical outcome as far as the Romance of the Three Kingdoms is concerned, and I get to do this really cool outcome where, you know what, sometimes you just fucking want Cao Cao to win. Sometimes you want Liu Bei's benevolence to conquer the day. And they do this with all 4 of the dynasties. They do it with Wei, Wu, Shu, and Jin. Because Jin even has their own kind of fucked up stuff that happens to their dynasty. Like Sima Shi dies, he gets injured, and then Sima Zhao has to take over, and he doesn't really want to do that.
I have a question, Professor.
Yes.
So the actual gameplay, I remember it's based. You're on a map, it's an enclosed map, and your lieutenants will be asking for help. And what happens if you don't help those lieutenants? Or what happens when they die? Is that kind of like?
So it weakens your forces in that stage. Very negative things can happen in that particular stage. You can actually lose the battle depending on if you'll have a main general who can't die. If you're playing like Cao Cao, Sun Quan, or Liu Bei, then you're probably the main general, so it's a little bit easier to play a ruler because you don't have to protect someone else. But if you're like Guan Yu, you need to make sure Liu Bei doesn't die in the battle. If he dies, you've lost. It may also be something where if like Zhang Bao goes down, well now your eastern front is vulnerable and the soldiers over there will get demoralized and be slain really easily. It can also be for the what-if scenarios, like I mentioned, like if Peng Tong dies in the Battle of Chengdu, then you don't get the special what-if scenario when you get to the Battle of Fon Castle.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, was it possible to win a battle if you lost all your lieutenants, I guess?
It depends on the battle. It depends. It could be possible.
Yeah.
It depending on the battle. Some victory conditions are you need to escort someone somewhere.
Yeah.
Some are you need to escape somewhere.
Yeah.
They actually did introduce like little missions as the game series has gone on.
I felt like it's a lot of babysitting. You really have to go from one place to another.
It's a lot of stage memorization. It's a lot of, this guy's going to appear here at about this time. And if I get here before he gets there, when he poofs in, I can start attacking him immediately. So it's a game where you play it through once and you just enjoy it. And you're probably going to lose some people and it's going to be a little difficult. Then you replay the levels and you replay the levels and you're like, okay, Dian Wei is going to poof in at the map here and then Zhang Liao will appear over here, so I need to make sure that this person is safe, so I go over here and I do this. Yeah, it's a lot of that. And you're running all over the place and you're riding a horse and, there is a certain amount of repetition to it. That's what hack and slash is. There will be repetition.
Do you ride other animals other than horses?
Elephants have been options. Maybe a panda at one point. But yeah, it's mostly the horses, of which red hair, among men, Lubu, among horses, red hair. So red hair is been comically portrayed as the games have gone on as a huge, actually flaming red horse that is super, super powerful and will knock over anyone. Because horses frighten. If you get too close to a lot of people, they'll rear up and they'll stop your momentum, and then you can be poked off your horse with the spears.
Oh.
So
Just like in real life.
yes. So yeah, the character stereotypes have really deepened over time. It's something that became quite comical. Like Zhu Shu has always been portrayed as being slow-minded, but it's gotten worse as the games have gone on. Again, Zhang He has they really fixated on this beauty thing with him as the games went on. Wei Yan, now speaks like an animal, grunts and stuff. They just took it really far in that route. And then it's also gotten like increasingly mythical as the games have gone on. Like Suotsi, I may be mispronouncing his name.
I don't know.
Yeah, Suotsi.
I do Japanese, not Chinese.
Yeah,
I can't help you.
Like he's actually a mystic. There's parts of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms that are mystical. Ganji shows up and like he wounds Sun Tzu, like magically, in the story, and they brought those elements in over time as well, where the mystics actually get involved with determining who should rule China. So as the game has, evolved, it really does beg the question: how will Dynasty Warriors 9 approach the game? Will it be story kingdom focused? Will it be character focused? One big thing. Sorry, I'm so excited. One big thing is they bunch all of the other quote-unquote kingdoms as others. So you have Yuan Shao, who leads his failed uprising against Cao Cao. You have Lu Bu, Deng Shuo. You have the Nanmans. You have the Yellow Turbans, or Yellow Scarves, with Zhang Jiao. You have all these side characters, and Lu Bu. I think I mentioned Lu Bu, but Lu Bu is a big fan favorite. Lu Bu is the big boss.
Lu Bu's from Animaniacs.
Okay.
He was a big chicken. He was a Chinese chicken, and he beat up people.
There you go. That sounds like Lu Bu. If Lu Bu shows up in the game, you need to run, because you're not going to beat Lu Bu. That's lesson number 1. But in Dynasty Warriors 4, like I said, they all had their own unique storylines, and people really liked that. They were like, cool, it's more of the game to play. As the games have gone on, they've kind of pulled them back. Dynasty Warriors 6 had no other mode. I think maybe it had Lu Bu, and that was it. And people were pissed, because they were like, no, I want to play Yuan Shao. Like, why is he in the game if we can't actually play him in a story mode?
Right.
Dynasty Warriors 7 didn't add that. Dynasty Warriors 8 also didn't really have that. Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends brought back Lu Bu's storyline.
I'm sorry. His name was Chicken Boo.
Oh, okay.
That's what you were thinking of? I was like, I don't remember this character in Animaniacs.
Gotta go watch it now.
So even Lu Bu has a what-if scenario. You can play the mode where he dies, because Cao Cao is able to outsmart him and kills him, in fact.
Okay.
But you can play a mode where Lu Bu has dominated all of China and is like, I'm Lu Bu and I'm so cool. So maybe as the games continue to expand and get more intense, they'll bring the other modes into the game as well, so we can maybe finally play a campaign as the Nanmans, or what would happen. They brought those brief levels into Extreme Legends, where you could play like one level if Yuan Shao had won the Battle of Guandu, but we kind of want to play the whole thing. Like, we like those expanded options there. So it'll be very interesting for me to see what they decide to do for Dynasty Warriors 9 overall.
Was it ever 2-player split screen?
Always, except for 8. 8 Extreme Legends abandoned that because of graphical restrictions. Yeah, but online co-op exists now too.
Did we play one time?
We might have. Yeah, I think you lost interest, to be honest.
I don't know.
So the music is a mashup of traditional Chinese instruments, hard rock, and heavy metal. It kind of shares that, that amalgamation that is Dynasty Warriors. It's a little bit, historical. It's a little bit modern. It's composed by Masa, Sasaki Masayoshi, and Lu Bu's theme continues to inspire fear to this day. He's kind of usually the primary theme of Dynasty Warriors.
The Black Armor guy.
Well, in Dynasty Warriors 6, yes. That's the only time he had black armor.
Who's the Black Armor guy in 8?
There is no... Well, you're thinking of his daughter, Lu Lingqi. She inherits his black armor and his quadruple halberd that he had in Dynasty Warriors 6.
You should get a halberd. No, for real.
Okay.
Even Jersey. I'm just saying.
I don't
There
know
you
what
go.
that has to do with halberds, but
Yes.
all right, you've sold me.
So,
We'll get a halberd.
so one big thing, as you've heard me saying, like South throughout, that is something that Koei has decided to actually put effort in as the games have gone on. As a little kid, I went around talking about the exploits of Cao Cao and how Zheng He, was so great, and Da Qiao, and Zhu Qi, and like they
They
for
get the
some
pronunciations
reason,
wrong.
Got all the pronunciations wrong. Like they didn't bother, and the voiceovers are laughably comedic. It's just very
They're
bad.
bad.
So on top of that, to not even get the pronunciations correctly was very laughable. That's something where over time they have worked to resolve that. They do actually include the Japanese voice option, which to me is always weird because you're watching Chinese characters speak Japanese, so it's like
Oh, it's a Japanese game.
Yeah, but like you lose that whole like nostalgia. Like it's one thing to watch
it's the immersion.
Three Kingdom or Red Cliff in Chinese.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be like, I'm gonna play Three Kingdoms in Japanese. So I always play it with the laughably bad English
same.
subs. So they started doing the Cao Cao and the Zhanghe and all that. So that they've gotten better. That was fan demand. Fans demanded that they start saying the names correctly, so Koei was like, okay, you guys are passionate, we'll do it. And they brought it in.
Is this more popular in Japan than it is in China?
I don't know the gaming scene in China,
Not
to
me.
be honest. Like China has so many restrictions when it comes to that stuff. It's difficult to say. Do they even have like the legit councils in China? I don't know if they do.
I have no idea.
So,
China, you listening?
yeah.
Email us.
So, we've already gone over the basics of the kata, which is your normal attack, your heavy attack, your moveset attack. But to those who think that that's where Dynasty Warriors end, I have an explanation for you. The games have striven to add more depth to them as time has gone on. And again, Dynasty Warriors 8 being the paragon of a Dynasty Warriors game, did it to perfection. First of all, one key thing that they decided to add was multiple weapons per character. So the repetition that came from understanding the movesets of your particular character's weapon and being forced to use that throughout the entire level can be lessened when you actually have access to multiple weapons for your character. Because now you're doubling the moveset within that particular level. In some instances, like Samurai Warriors 4-2, you can actually swap your character mid-level, where you transport to where they are on the map and you start playing an entirely new character. They introduced a 3-point system with weapon affinity called Heaven, Earth, and Man. It basically was this little system where if they had a green, red, or blue circle above their head, it corresponded to an element. Heaven beats Earth, Earth beats Man, Man beats Heaven. So basically, you could have a weapon and its affinity is Heaven. If it's attacking another Heaven, then your weapon does normal damage. If it's attacking Earth, it does massive damage and it'll do a special attack when you finish on them. But if you're attacking Man, it will actually do less damage and requires you to swap your weapon out for another weapon. So it introduced this little rock, paper, scissors mechanic to the game that added that additional depth. You also did attacks when you switched weapons called switch attacks, and then they also introduced switch counters, which if you had the weaker weapon and you did a switch counter, you would actually do a really strong attack to switch out. On top of that, they introduced Storm Rush attacks, which was a gauge in addition to the Musou gauge, which when activated did a Storm Rush mode, which was an homage to the Renbu system. So for a very short period of time, you could do Renbu attacks, which was just tap, 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 and you do crazy attacks.
Okay.
Which when done in short bursts was actually lots of fun. And it allowed you to kill like 50 or 60 at a time. They also brought in Rage mode, where if you were about to die and you activated your Musou, it actually did a much more powerful version of that particular attack. So if you were, like, it would add elemental effects on top of it.
That's how it is in real life.
Yep. And they also brought in multiple Musou attacks, so your character had different options when it came to that, where you could do 2 different types of Musou attacks on the ground and 1 in the air. And then lastly, they also introduced weapon fusion and leveling to the games as well. So it's not just necessarily as simple as square, square, square. At its heart, that's what it will always be. But they actually have gone ahead and done considerable work towards adding a lot of depth to it, which is super fun for me because I am playing the same game over and over again. So I like those additional challenges while still understanding that Zhao Yun will always have a spear, that Zhao Hudun should always have a Kirin Fang. Like, they've started to really understand. But with that, they're actually running out of weapons. Every character has a unique weapon. So you can't just have a sword that's just another sword with different attacks. It's got to be a different kind of crazy sword.
Right.
So you get kind of funny things, like Huang Gai actually just has a boat, and he just beats you up with the boat. And he does, like, water-themed attacks on his little boat, which he can, like, ride on, like, waves that come out of nowhere and smash into you.
That's pretty silly.
The reason why is because Huang Gai is the one who actually makes the fire attack possible in the Battle of Chibi. So they're paying homage to that.
Okay.
But, like, then you have, like, Guan Jing, who has 2 propeller blades, and he can actually, like, fly as a result of using them. They basically are just, like, for some of the people, they try to make sense. For other people, they're like, nah, whatever, have fun with it. Like, Guojia, I can't even describe what it has. It's like a pool cue with, like, 2 floating balls, and he can, like, launch the balls at you. Like, it gets weird.
That's how I fight every Monday night in pool league.
That's pretty sweet. Throw balls at people?
Yes.
Damn.
So they've actually now even brought back all the weapons that were scrapped from Dynasty Warriors 6 because people didn't like them. They gave them to other characters, which was smart. They already had the moveset. So, like, who was it? I think Eugene or Yue-Jin. One of them gets the weapon that Xiahou had in Dynasty Warriors 6. It just makes more sense when you give it to someone else. In total, Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends Complete Edition for the PlayStation 4 features 83 playable characters. You also had Jun Yu, who was introduced as a strategist in Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. They went in a little bit of a strategist kick with Dynasty Warriors 8. They decided they didn't have enough strategists, so they just put a shit ton of strategists into the game. I'm not going to go over them all. There has been a lot of vocal outcry from fans that Wu needs a little bit more love. I would agree on that, Koei. You need to balance your roster out. They went a little shoe heavy last time. They brought in all of Guan Yu's adopted kids, and they went a little bit overboard. That's because Shu is the quote-unquote good guy. They are portrayed as being the good, rightful leaders of China. There's a lot of evidence that that's absolute bullshit. But you buy into it because it's fun, and it's all benevolence.
Have you seen that huge Guan Yu statue in China?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's intense.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Like, it's not much to
What I am going to do is I'm going to let you know my favorite character in each of the kingdoms really quick.
Okay.
So for Wei, let's see. You know what? Zhang Liao. So badass. So badass. The Battle of Hefei is always one of my favorites, and he was an officer who served under Lu Bu, and when Cao Cao asked him if he should spare his life, he said no, and he would rather die as a soldier and a warrior. And that is why Cao Cao let him live. And he went on to become one of the great tiger generals under Wei, and his name inspired fear in the children of Wu. Like, they would tell them stories of Zhang Liao to scare them, to get them to obey their commands.
That's pretty silly.
Yes. Then you have Wu, Sun Shangxiang. I mean, come on. She just has, her chakrams. Like, of course. I don't know what that bullshit Bow Princess thing was in Dynasty Warriors 6, Koei. Thank God they brought back the chakrams. Shu, I think you have to go with Guan Yu. Guan Yu is so powerful in this game. His attacks are just OP, and he's just like he's Guan Yu. He's got to work. What are you gonna do?
Well, you can play as Zhuge Liang.
Yeah.
Strategic.
Yes, he uses a fan and the power of mystical energy.
How do strategics play Dynasty Warriors?
So they tend to be more floaty and mystical. So like a character like Guan Yu can take a certain amount of damage before his like moves get interrupted, and he has wide sweeping attacks, and they're generally very vertical and just horizontal, how you would expect them to be, ground slamming. A character like Zhuge Liang actually kind of floats over the battlefield. He uses his fan, so he actually just hits you with like wind and hurts you. But then you can like summon the power of light, and you can like call down lightning. So it's more AoE kind of static effects like that.
They
where
play
you,
like wizards.
Exactly. He basically if you're a strategist in Dynasty Warriors, you're a wizard. If you're the Kingdom of Wu, you tend to deal with fire. If you're the Kingdom of Shu, you like lightning seems to be the preferred element. For Jin needs a lot of work. I'm gonna be honest. They have the weirdest weapons. Deng Ai has a drill spear thing. Wo Hai or Hui has like a arm cannon. It gets weird. I tend to default back to Sima Zhao. He's the leader, and he's basic, but like I get how his moveset works. Although Wen Yang is fucking pretty cool as well. And then the other mode, I mean Lu Bu. Let's not even open that can of worms. It's Lu Bu. What do you want? Lu Bu. Come to destroy. Okay. So that was a lot. And one thing that I do want to say is that I've mentioned this before, there will be a film adaptation of Dynasty Warriors. So let me
not
just,
Redcliffe?
No, let me just
Which was awesome.
make this apparent. The film adaptation of the video game adaptation of the historical novel adaptation
Of history.
of history is set to release in China, Hong Kong, and Macau in 2018.
That's pretty silly.
It very much so is, and I cannot wait. Like it's like you have me. I will get a copy. I will watch with the shittiest subtitles if need be. I'm not going to get into these other franchises today. Those will be future.
What?
Hey, part
If you
1
say
of 50.
so.
Wasn't there a Gundam one?
There were tons of spin-offs that came
Yeah,
as a
I
result
played the
of
Gundam one,
success.
actually.
There are 4 titles for Dynasty Warriors Gundam. There's 4 numbered titles for Samurai Warriors, which is the same game set in the Sengoku period of Japan, which is super, super fun, by the way, and uses a different metered pattern for the control scheme. In Dynasty Warriors, everyone's control scheme is the same. They just do different attacks. In Samurai Warriors, everyone's control scheme is different, and they do different attacks. So like, Nobunaga Oda might do something where he does like a square, triangle, 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 triangle. Whereas if you're playing Ieyasu Tokugawa, he might not have that move at all. So it required you to get to know the different characters, and that was actually pretty cool. You had 3 titles for Warriors Orochi, 2 Dynasty Tactics titles, Bladestorm the 100 Years War, which had 2 titles, Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage had 2 titles, Warriors Legends of Troy, which I did play. What? Yep, it was just the story of Troy done with the combat system of Dynasty Warriors.
Okay.
One Piece Pirate Warriors has 3 titles.
Of course.
Hyrule Warriors has a Wii U and a 3DS version. Dragon Quest Heroes has 2 titles. Arslan, the Warriors of Legend. Berserk and the Band of the Hawk will come out in 2016. Musou Stars will come out in 2017. In Shin Sengoku Musou Iketsuden will come out in 2016, which is basically a console version of Dynasty Tactics. Not sure if that one is coming west or not. It hasn't. I think that's been confirmed. And then Koei, of course, makes like the Tokaido Kiwami games and all that as well. But these games that I listed right here, with the exception of Tokaido Kiwami, all use the same combat system. So It's all the hack and slash.
Tactics?
Tactics is the one exception to the rule, as is Bladestorm, actually. They use a more strategic base of it. So besides Tactics and Bladestorm, every one of these games uses the square, 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 triangle, do a Musou attack with circle.
Did you ever have to get a controller change because you're square or out?
I
a fair
might
question.
have broken a controller in rage of losing a duel once in Dynasty Warriors 4. Yeah.
Is any of the Dynasty Warriors multiplayer for versus?
Maybe. I think.
That'd be pretty cool.
It's a good question.
I don't know.
Might. There were versus modes, but not in the free roam.
Yeah, that'd be cool in free roam.
There was an MMO, by the way.
Find like the opposing general, the other player.
There is a Dynasty Warriors MMO. It
Curious.
What?
thankfully did not come west, because if it did, I would not be here. I would be in my room playing Dynasty Warriors MMO. So Koei, don't think about it. Don't do it. I have life right now. Don't interfere with my ability to do the things I want to do. So, believe it or not, that's just a very brief overview of the Dynasty Warriors
Very brief.
series. Thank you for letting me gush over that. I'm not
You
going to try
got
to
it.
convince
We all get our
you-
podcast.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to convince you to play it. It's very niche, and it's not for everyone. But there is actually more depth than you would think as time has gone on. And if anything, if this just inspires you to look up Romance of the Three Kingdoms, do it. It's a really cool story. It blends that perfect mix of like with Troy, where the gods intervene, and you've got history going on, and you have wily characters and villainous characters, and all of these cool intertwining political intrigues and everything. It's definitely worth at least looking into. It's kind of, it has no traction or following in the West, but it is something that is, very prevalent in Eastern history and fiction, and it's something where, everyone who's seen Red Cliff here has thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, it's a great movie. Check it out.
Yeah, that
So
one
fun.
is John Woo's
Yeah.
Red Cliff. Watch the international version, and then begin to realize that that's one battle of many, and yeah.
Did Zhuge Liang and Liu Bei ever fight each other?
Liu Bei, no.
'Cause they said
Or
at
you're
the end-
thinking of Zhou Yu.
No, at the end of Red Cliff.
At the end of Red Cliff,
They're
yeah,
like-
they had a rivalry.
Yeah, they're like, we're...
No, you're thinking of Zhou Yu and Zhuge Liang.
Well, whoever played Andy Lau.
Zhou Yu.
Who's Liu Bei?
Liu Bei is Zhuge Liang's master
Oh,
or
yeah.
lord. Yeah.
Okay.
With
Andy
the two
Lau.
brothers.
Yeah.
No, you're thinking of Zhou Yu. So the movie took the dramatic liberty of creating a friendship between Zhou Yu and Zhuge Liang that does not exist at all in the story. In fact, they hate each other. Or more importantly, Zhou Yu hates Zhuge Liang because he accurately understands the threat that he poses to the kingdom of Wu. Zhuge Liang thinks nothing of Zhou Yu because he's so much smarter than him that he's 5 steps ahead. So Zhuge Liang actually ends up causing the death of Zhou Yu after he outsmarts him in one particular battle. He actually...
The romance or the real life?
Romance. Yeah, they hated each other. Zhou Yu tries to have Zhuge Liang killed on many occasions, while they're actually even planning the Battle of Red Cliff. The whole get the
Oh, not
arrows...
again.
The whole get the arrows scheme, that's because Zhou Yu wants Zhuge Liang to die. And then he outsmarts him. And like, they're about to kill him, but he's able to summon the wind and then leave before that ever happens. And then while Wu is busy mopping up the battle, Shu takes all the glory and moves into, Xiangdong, maybe? The middle area. I'm totally blanking. I haven't read it in a while.
Never remember this. Ever.
There's a very crucial middle territory that Shu is able to invade by very carefully manipulating their treaty agreement with Wu, so they don't technically break any truce or alliance that they had, but they still dick them out of the territory. And Zhou is so pissed off that he essentially has a heart attack when he dies. Yeah. So Zhou is kind of remembered in historical fiction as being a failure.
Oh. Would you think the Kessin series is kind of like a spin-off of Dynasty Wars?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because there is the actual Romance of the Three Kingdoms series, which is a strategy game very similar to Kessin and how it operates, or Kessin 2, or whichever one specifically, because one of Kessin's was Nobunaga, and
Kessin
one
was Japanese.
So then the second one, it's basically Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which if you just wanted the strategy version of the storyline, that's what Romance of the Three Kingdoms is. That is also done by Koei. It's very different. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 13 just recently came out for the PlayStation 4, and
why are we not playing that right now?
Why indeed? Money.
Yeah. It's $60.
Yeah.
How long has it been out for?
Well, Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends has been out for years.
And it's still $60?
Or a year.
Ugh.
Yeah, Koei doesn't do sales. So that's why, like, when Amazon discounts their games, I will pounce on it. Believe me, I have a wish list. Okay, my last thing here. I want Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate. I want Samurai Warriors 4, Samurai Warriors 4 2. I want Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 when that comes out. I want Bladestorm 100 Years War HD Remaster. I want Romance of the Three Kingdoms 13.
If you know what to get you for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yep. If it's a Koei title, I probably want it. But actually, my voice is dying at this
So,
point.
shall we wrap up then?
Yeah, that was everything. So,
All right.
thank you all so much for letting me do that.
You're welcome.
I over
I
it.
was expecting a little more.
Were you really? Don't egg him on.
Well, if we find the second pamphlet,
And we have to go.
one day we can talk about Samurai Warriors, and how that also factored into a whole bunch of things.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Woo!
After-
I need to lay down.
After a year and a half of wanting to talk about Dynasty Warriors.
I'm just one guy, and
Um,
yet I carry.
One guy.
Yep. Yep.
I got it. It's a pun.
It is.
It's a one guy pun.
Well, congratulations.
Woo!
We
Like-
did it.
You've done the world a service.
I have.
I don't think anybody is into this franchise as much as you are.
Well,
I played maybe at least 3 titles.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my brother, but it was just as like a rental.
all right.
But nothing like
Yeah.
you're in it, man.
Yep. I listened to the
What-
soundtrack on the way home today.
What was the name of the TV drama you were watching?
Oh God, that was just Three Kingdoms, I think.
Yeah, my dad was really into that for a while too.
Yeah, there's 2 versions of that show. There's like a old school, like 70s version of it, and then there's a 2010 drama series that very faithfully. It's actually one of my favorite adaptations of the story. The guy who plays Cao Cao just owns the goddamn role. And they do a good job of like aging them so that they can be appropriate where they are. Sorry, just real quick, Koei, if you're listening, if you could just implement aging costumes. It's something they started to do with Samurai Warriors, so I'm really hopeful they bring it into Dynasty Warriors. Is the fact that the story goes on for 60 years, and yet Cao Cao looks the same when you start the game as when you end the game, and he should be like, again, like he's like 60, 70 by that time.
Asian genetics are,
Apparently. But, like, it's so funny because, like, Cao Pi just will randomly show up, because he was supposed to be, like, 12, and now all of a sudden he's just there because we couldn't have him in the game before because we don't have a character model for him as a kid. So, like, it would be cool to see them age a little bit, and that's just a costume switch, which I think if you do, for PlayStation 4 with the more processing power and everything, I think it'd be cool if everyone had a younger and older version. Just 2 versions, that's all I'm asking for. And some characters wouldn't need it because, like, you know, the Jin characters, you don't cover that much history with them, so you don't need older copies. But like Zhao Yun is like one of the most badass warriors, and he was fighting until he was literally like 60, and he was kicking ass when he was 60. So like, I want Grandpa Zhao Yun costume, and that, you know, just to shove it in Wei's face.
Shove it.
Cool. But yes, all right. Thank you all.
Hey,
You got it.
We've
when did
done
this
it.
come out? Basketball.
Hoops?
version.
Hoops has been around for a while.
Dude, I have not played Rocket League.
Hoops came out after Ice
Nice.
Day.
I think I have football.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting.
that'd be pretty neat.
Oh, and everyone just make sure to, you know, watch out. My hurricane is coming in. You know.
Hurricane
Hurricane
Matthew.
Matthew.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. My parents are in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey, Hurricane Matthew doesn't take no shit.
Wow.
You can't force him out to sea.
Everybody be safe.
Yep. Okay, so that was a lot. Thank you all for listening. I'm sure you stayed for the entire time.
Yeah.
We have some shout outs to make, though.
We do.
We do. I guess
Right.
that's me. I'm the shout out guy.
If you don't mind.
So Thursdays on Randy M Radio, we have Rant and Wrestling with Mofo, Pootie, Doomsday, Changong, Dao Chandong Zulu Boo, Meng Hao, Yan Xiao, Zhang Zhao, Zudong, and Zu.
Wow, they must have added some people to that.
Yeah.
Roster update.
They needed.
83 playable podcasts.
And
They all have their own unique movesets?
yes, and weapons.
Oh, cool.
Then on Fridays, you have the Turnbuckle Throwbacks with my boy, Phil Rhea, and Scott the Kid Human. Fridays, 9 p.m. Saturdays, 11 p.m., you have the Wrestling Call-In Show with Mr. Will I Am Morgan,
Yeah, okay.
representing Atlanta.
I'm paying attention.
Sundays, you have the Silver Server hosting What Are You Reading, who he recently fired his co-host because he refused to watch Gotham, which is
What?
a terrible show.
That's how you can fire your
I'm
co-host?
talking to you, Surfer. How dare you?
How did this happen?
Free Jordan Cobb.
Kyle?
And then on Tuesdays, we have The Rant with Double A and Tony C. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. And then us every other Wednesday.
On Dynasty Warriors, 8 p.m.
Thumbstick Warriors.
Yep.
Never. We also have those Dice Breaker guys.
Hell yeah, we're still doing stuff, even though it doesn't look like we are.
Okay.
We haven't released anything for a while, but we
When-
have this like crazy new project that's taken up a lot of time.
Yeah, when's the next video coming?
Well, we've been doing these small videos for some of our board game creator friends who are doing Kickstarters and the like. So we have 2 of those online already, and yeah, that's wide. There are 2 more to come, but those are short, like 35, 45-second little videos. You'll be getting a rather large release. We're doing like a half-hour-long docu-series pilot. Oh, that's not saved. This is gonna go to overtime.
That is.
But we'll let you know. We're gonna have something pretty awesome, and we hope you like it.
Can you goaltending here?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
that's-
It's encouraged.
Okay. Well, let me know when that comes out.
I will. I'll keep everyone posted.
Matt, I have no idea what you just said for the last hour, but I appreciate everything you said.
Me
Why,
too.
thank you. It was certainly a decent challenge. Oh, Dynasty Warriors jokes. All right. So,
Next
at
one,
the risk of
Kingdom
launching
Hearts.
into... Oh, God. No one is ready for that. No one is ready.
Oh.
I can only
Maybe
talk for so long.
One day.
Yep. It'll happen. We'll do a Kingdom Hearts one eventually. So,
we had tried at one point.
Yes,
A couple
we did
podcasts
try.
ago. We didn't get to it,
all
but we
right.
will.
So, this has been the Thumbstick Ninjas with Matthew Smith.
Rob Domingo.
And Steve Landau playing some Rocket League. in the
GG,
back.
everyone.
GG.
Good game.
Xie.
Benevolence.
Chinese
Benevolence.
I only have one pun, and it's if the shoe fits. That's all I got.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh
You
yeah,
got
there
it.
we go.
Score.
right.
That's a good one to end on.
See you, everyone.
Bye.